we're back. Episode 8. We have the mountain man, SeanWelshBrown here.
That's
himself.
me. I don't have a beard anymore, but I might grow it back, and then it'll all fit the part. I cut my hair too.
Now you have to grow it back. So
yeah.
We were gone for another 2 weeks. So June was a busy month for both of us. I think we both did a lot of traveling.
Indeed.
My July and August is nice and settled, hopefully. So I think we'll be back on week to week. But you cut off your beard as you became a literal mountain man. Why don't you tell everyone what you did over the last week and why you need to grow your beard back now for legal reasons?
I actually have a certificate. Yeah. I got a certificate from the guiding company. Believe it or not, everybody did.
Really?
All 8 of us. Yeah, it's upstairs. I've shown it on camera. But so I went out to Washington State to climb Mount Rainier outside of Seattle, which was an unbelievable experience. Basically, the most demanding thing I've ever done, like physically and mentally, but also probably the coolest and the most rewarding thing I've ever done. Went with a good friend of both of ours, another Sean, hilariously enough. Sorry to confuse everybody.
All the Seans.
Yeah, we're all just, we keep finding each other.
He'll probably be on here one day, maybe.
Oh, that would be hilarious. He would he would love it. And a cousin of his who I now know pretty well because we shared a tent, and you get to know someone pretty well when you're in there.
In a tent, 10,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah, 11,500 to be precise on a glacier. And I found out after the fact that glacier where we were camped out in tents is actually where the worst mountaineering disaster in American history happened, where an avalanche killed 11 people.
Wow.
We were sleeping on it, baby.
Were there killed how many people? 11?
11, yeah. That was in 1981, so a while ago. But rest in peace to those people. It's very sad. But
and is it like a thing where like an avalanche could happen at any point, or was it like, do they like know if the snow is pretty settled, or
the science has gotten better for sure. Like you know, obviously everything is written in blood when people figure things out. So I think people are decent at checking, you know, the quality of the glacier, the quality of the snow with the temperature and everything. This is a pretty warm year so far. So everything was a little slushy, a little spudgy, but
you're telling me it's 90 degrees right now. It's hot as hell.
It's weird coming back here, dude. I was just up in like, you know, 20-degree wind chills, like getting blasted on the top of this mountain.
So give us the rundown. You get to Washington, and then what's the days like? What's the days like from there?
Pretty crazy. So we get to Washington basically like right into the next day, go to this guiding company, International Mountain Guides. I highly recommend. They were incredible. IMG. They were really amazing. All our guides were fantastic. The coolest, the funniest dudes I've ever met in my entire life. We all just like gelled immediately. They were so funny. Met up there in Ashford, which is just not just outside, it's a bit further away from Seattle, and it's kind of like a little climbing town at the bottom of Mount Rainier. And
town.
Yeah, everybody there, dude. You see all these people, like everybody's so cool. Everybody's so cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
We were walking around, and Sean just turns to me and he goes, "This kicks ass." Everybody here kicks ass.
Everyone there is living life. Conquering what the earth has to offer.
Yeah, like all the guides just sleeping in.
And I'm here reading about the fucking FTC, Microsoft. Where it's going to be exclusive. That's not good.
Dude, that's what I was thinking about at the top of the mountain. I was like, shit, man.
I wonder what Bobby Kotick's doing right now.
Yeah, I wonder if they do get that acquisition done.
A plane flies by you guys. Bobby waves.
It's got the banner.
Throws out copies of Starfield.
So we get there. We meet up with the guiding company.
Kotick Claus.
Bobby Claus, Saint Bobby.
Kotick Claus.
We go through all our gear and everything, and then the next day is like a training day, which is really cool. We drive up to Rainier and kind of like the national park area at the bottom of it, like unbelievably beautiful, dude. Like this part of Washington State is just, it's evergreen, the pure Pacific Northwest. Like never seen that many trees before in my life. Do some training around like 6,000, 7,000 feet. Go back, try to get some decent sleep, which I didn't because the anticipation.
Yeah.
And then the next 3 days were just on the mountain. First day went up to 10,000 feet, stayed at a permanent camp that's kind of like there on the side of the mountain. And that was the toughest day for me because I got hit by altitude sickness when I was climbing that up, and just
This is the first day you said?
yeah, the first day of the full ascent. Just like tunnel vision, dude. Like they call it ataxia, is like the kind of the general struggle where you're just disoriented. You know, you're stumbling a little bit. You can't like pull your zipper up, that kind of thing. I was getting hit by that hard. I was like, I've got the stupids,
Oh, wow.
like majorly got the stupids.
Is that what happened to there was like a plane crash or a helicopter crash recently? And I think when they bring in, when the FTC, no, the FCC,
oh, the FAA,
the FAA, yes,
yeah,
thank you. The FAA, they bring in like pilots in, they put them in like they interview them in like a oxygen decompressed room.
yeah, like a low pressure place or something like that.
Yeah, and they just ask them like, oh, like what, like, can you raise your arm for me?
Like, how old are you? And like people can't even answer that because like,
and it's like, they ask them 3 times, can you raise your left hand? They're like,
what do you mean? What?
Like, and it's weird. And then they say like they don't even remember it.
Yeah, I had a pretty mild form of it, like all things considered, but it was wild, like to just be walking along like up this insane snowfield and to just be taught like mid conversation and kind of be like, whoa, like I feel like I'm outside my body right now. And got up there finally, thought I was gonna have to tap out, but got a decent night's sleep, all things considered, in like a little bunkhouse and a sleeping bag, seeing like
and
the mountains.
Your body adjusted while you slept?
Yeah, it adjusted while it slept. I pounded some ibuprofen, took half a diamoxicillin. I can't remember the name of it. It's like a med that can kind of like speed up the acclimation process a little bit, and woke up the next day and just
kept
on going.
How many days do you have after that?
The next day was like sort of an active rest one. So we pushed up to, if anyone listening knows anything about Mount Rainier, you might know what I'm talking about. We pushed across the Cowlitz Glacier, which is one of the many glaciers on it, and then up the Cathedral Gap, which is like a rock wall. And then the second camp was the Ingraham Flats, which is part of a glacier. And this was unbelievable, man. This is the kind of thing that I wanted to see. I'm so glad that I, at the very least, made it to day 2, because like, I've read about this stuff my whole life. Like you walk into it and it's literally like, you know, your picture perfect glacier. It's like a frozen river of ice and snow looking down on you. And as we walk in, you look to your right, there's like a 50-foot wide crevasse of just blue snow and ice that like you can't even see the bottom of. It's like literally bottomless, going all the way down to like the heart of the mountain. And we're just walking past it. We're like, oh, okay, we're on the glacier.
That's insane.
Yeah. And we camp out there and it's just like mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Spend the night there on the snow.
So you guys you guys brought like dude wipes?
Oh, for going nature's call.
Yeah. Well, also just to like clean up in the morning, like just because you're not showering.
Oh yeah, no, we were disgusting. All of us were absolutely vile by the end of it. Like that's the funniest thing is you accept that like everybody is like you can bring it if you want, but like no one cares. It's like I was wearing the same base layer for 3.5 days. We were all
just crusted over.
Yeah, because like that's
awesome.
you're moving, you're sweating, like you know, it's what you're just, it's all about getting up to the top. You know, no one is trying to impress anybody with, you know, how you look or how you smell. And I shared a tent with Richard, Sean's cousin, wonderful guy. Very happy I got a chance to meet him. Amazing climber, amazing spirit. And got to know each other pretty well in the tent, which is a fun experience. And then we got up at 10 p.m., left the camp at midnight, which is a classic alpine start. You leave before the sun's up. And it was like being in a movie, man. Like we're all roped up, you know, they've got the guides have their radios, like, you know, Tyler, go. Okay, Robbie, go. And then like everybody starts, you know, trudging out. Like, and the first thing is we see this crevasse with a ladder over it. And, you know, I look down and it's just bottomless.
Just the abyss of the world.
In darkness with only the moonlight, you know, lighting it up. And you have to like, you know, walk across this ladder and, you know, look down. And I was like, oh my God. And then there's this area called the bowling alley, which they call because there's just so much rock fall that you can basically get, you know, taken out at any point.
Yeah.
That was the craziest thing too. Like the mountain is alive. Like Mount Rainier is an active volcano. And it's got seismic activity. Like there's lots of changes in temperature in the rock. So every couple of minutes you would hear somewhere on the mountain, like a sound I can't even describe, like a thunderous just crack and a rumble of a rock, a boulder the size of a car, some snow falling and hitting the ground somewhere. And sometimes you see it and you're like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
You just see like
crazy.
a chunk of the mountain fall off. And so we push through, climb up this insane rock wall where you're basically just grabbing onto, whatever foot and handhold you can, get up to the top. And then, the guides check in with everybody. You're stopping, you're getting snacks, and they're like, all right, are you ready for, like, can you handle the next push? Because we're going onto the ice cap of the summit. And like, we can turn back here to get you back. But once we're up there, like, it's so narrow, it's so steep, you're so high up that if you
gotta go,
you have to go forward. Like, if there's a real emergency, we can turn back for you, but like, it's putting everybody else at severe risk. So like, you have to be ready to go. And we were like, let's do it, dude.
How long was that? How long was that climb?
We actually made really good time. We didn't, when you're doing it, you're like, oh my God, this is taking forever. But we got to the top and the guides were like, this is actually really impressive. We did it in 5 hours, from 11,500 feet to the summit, which is 14,411, I believe. So it was like that final, like 3,500, something like that.
And then what's the descent? Like, how do you descend?
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
And you walked all the way back down the mountain.
You walk all the way back down.
You guys went to the top, took some pics, took some selfies, recorded an episode of the podcast, and then
and then immediately.
How long did you spend at the top of the mountain?
I would say we were up there for maybe at the most an hour. It felt more like 20 to 35 minutes, but I'm sure it was a bit longer than that. Because you're so gassed by the time you get up there. Like,
yeah, you just sit down and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, like for starters, you're so high up that like 14,000 feet is the point where, like, if you stay there for long enough, you're going to start to really feel something, even if you weren't before. So you're gassed, you're very high up. The wind is blasting the hell out of you. And so you're like having this moment where you want to cry because it's so beautiful and you're so proud of yourself and your team, but you're so uncomfortable and miserable.
Yeah.
That like,
so,
I was staying next to Sean. We took a few photos and, just like had this moment, signed the registry at the top. So our names go in like the list of everything. And then we just looked at each other and we were like, let's get off this fucking thing, dude.
That's awesome.
Let's get off this rock, dude. Like, just, oh God, it's just exhausting. My mistake was not realizing that, and they explain this to you, but it's hard to really put it in perspective. Like, getting to the top of the mountain is like maybe less than 50% of the work, because getting down is the hard part, because it's like you can't just slide off the mountain, like you got to go back exactly the way you came. And now all of those incredibly narrow, steep angles coming up the snowfield, you have to
don't fall forward,
do in reverse, not slip, look out for other climbers who are showing up now. So we had to like step off the path and like wait for them to go, be like, hey, how you doing? Good luck up there. Windy, look out. And then, keep going. And, on the side of the mountain, there's like crevasses that you had to like, there was one we had to literally wrap our hands around and throw ourselves over, like Aragorn throwing Gimli in Lord of the Rings. Like, you literally had to just get across this thing. And I almost fell in and I like screamed at the top of my lungs. It was like an animal kind of thing. It was just like, I'm either getting out of this thing or I'm not, so pretty cool.
What was it that you almost fell in?
Crevasse on the side of the like the ice cap of the
so mountain. You like, but how did you almost fall in?
I didn't. We were roped up, like it would have been fine, but so basically,
but you're still dangling over an endless abyss.
So it's hard to explain. Like, we're going up at an angle. Let's say it's about like 35 degrees, maybe steeper, maybe less, but about something like that. Walking a very narrow path, and suddenly there's a crevasse, which is a gap in the ice that's about maybe like 3 or 4 feet wide, but it's not at the same level. So here, you've got half of the crevasse, and then maybe like 3 feet up is the other half. So you have to like get across it and get up and also then keep walking up at this steep angle. So they have like a rope that they had hammered in. You wrap your arm around it. Literally, this is what they were like, oh yeah. And we're all pushing up. It's like the middle of the night. And they're just like, all right, get your ice axe in, wrap your arm around the rope, wrap the rope around your arm. And
some Tomb Raider shit.
Yeah, they're like, pull yourself up. They're like, no, get your axe in. So you literally just like have to try and pull yourself up. So I did, and then I started to fall back, and I was like, and Sean's behind me. He was just like, the sounds you were making.
So the axe came out of the wall?
No, I got the axe in. I was just like falling
you're just leaning
backwards
back.
trying to
Okay.
like pull myself forward.
Dude, that's insane. That's like legit some like Horizon Zero Dawn fucking Tomb
I
Raider.
it gave me so much like newfound it's like when you're playing a game
It
and
made
then
you realize how Hollywood everything is.
yeah, really really
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because like these things are so exhausting to do. Everything is so tiring and so demanding, and like it's hard. It's
Well,
it's
dude,
like
you should have
hard
just
to do
ate.
these things.
You should have just ate your like an apple to restore some stamina. Why didn't you just do that mid pull?
The funny thing is, I was trying, man. Like you have to carry so much food because you're burning so many calories, and like I made the mistake of falling behind on that, which is like the biggest no-no of all time, because like you're burning so much that if you stop at any point that the imbalance gets too big where you've burned more than you've eaten, your appetite goes away, and now you're in a deficit. Shit. So it's like,
damn.
Yeah, I was
so you
so
just gotta be
gassed.
Slamming those Cliff Bars.
Yeah, actually, you literally do. You have to force yourself to eat the most flavorless but nutrient dense things you can possibly imagine. And I did a poor job.
Did you guys bring any paste?
I had some like little jelly thingies,
jellies,
little jellies. Not enough. I should have had more. Yeah. So like I was so gassed on the way down. I was like, you know me, like when I can be like, if I'm like mad or upset about something, I can be a little like, I'm like a little, and so I was that way the whole way down, dude. I was just complaining. I was like, I'm so tired.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I was.
So wait, did you guys do the descent in one day, in the same day that you got to the top?
Yeah, we got up to.
So how long does the descent take? Like, how long was it?
It's hard to say.
So
we actually, I mean, we made
the mountain around like.
Yeah, we made pretty killer time.
5 in the morning.
We got up there around 4 or 5 to the summit, and I think we were back down at like the total base camp, having our like final meeting where we were just like shaking hands, giving hugs and stuff. I think that was around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, maybe.
Okay, so you get down pretty quick.
Yeah, you get down significantly faster. It doesn't feel like it, but you're just you're still moving probably about twice as fast as when you go up. So. Yeah, same day, dude. Like the most deep, utter exhaustion I've ever felt in my entire life. Like so rewarding though. We get back to the camp, the 3 of us take a shower, which is great. Not together, but that would have been fun too. And then we go and get dinner. We get
Jealous.
what? We get burgers, a couple of beers, go back to the room, fell asleep at 7:30 p.m.
The room was at the base camp, or did you guys get a hotel?
We had a little like a hotel. There's like a bunkhouse nearby for the climbers and stuff. Fell asleep at 7:30 p.m. Woke up at 6 a.m. All got about like 10 straight hours of sleep.
Yeah, and like no one was like stirring. Everyone.
It was the sleep of the dead, 100%. Like we were all dead to the world. I woke up at one point in the middle of the night drenched in sweat. I think my body was just like,
what the fuck happened?
Getting it out. I chugged water, fell right back to sleep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So just like
that's incredible, man.
Unbelievable.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Clap it
thank
up.
You. Yeah, claps in the chat.
Let's see if I can get a. Yeah. So how do you feel overall?
I feel great. I feel really good. I'm incredibly proud of
for you.
I don't hear it.
Oh, you don't hear it?
No.
Oh, here
the folks at home do. Oh, there you go. Hey. Thank you. There's some hoots and hollers in there.
Yeah, dude.
I'm incredibly proud of the team. Like everybody just had such a great attitude. Like the guides were saying, they were like all 8 people got up to the top, which is apparently pretty uncommon for everybody to make it to the summit. Like everybody brought their best. Like everybody struggled in their own ways at different points, and we all kept each other going, kept each other motivated. I'm just so proud. I'm proud of everybody. I'm proud of myself for facing a lot of like fears and uncertainties and doing something that I had really only dreamt of. I never thought I would actually go out and do something like that. As someone who is a fan of just books about this sort of thing, like to say the most surreal moment I had was like probably about 3 a.m. It's about 13,400 feet on the side of the mountain, moonlight. Everybody, we're taking a break briefly because we're waiting for someone to like adjust something farther ahead. And I'm standing there, ice axe in one hand, rope in the other, on this narrow little path. And, I look to my left and it's just, a sheer drop down the side of this mountain. I look to my right, it's just a sheer rise to the cap. And I was just like, what am I doing here? I was like, it was the first time I'd like let myself think of the reality of the situation. And I was I just walked over some freaking like pits in a freaking ice field. Like, oh my God. Like if I fell
like
over that
5
way,
feet
like,
from death.
literally, I was like, I could actually die so easily in like 100 ways right now. But I, honest to God, like I had so much faith in our guides. They were incredible people. So much faith in my teammates, the people I came with, the people I met. Like I felt safe. I felt safe the entire time, which I think is pretty remarkable. So get your money's worth when you go with a good guide company.
Dude, I'm happy for you. That's incredible. Yeah. I remember like a year ago when we got the text, or when was it, like 8 months ago, a year ago?
Something like that
we got the text about that, who wanted to go, and you're the only person. And it was arguably like, not in any like bad way, least close with the person who sent the text with the other Sean. And you're like, I'll go.
Yeah.
And, and now you guys are probably more close than anyone in the group, bonded for life at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. It's like awesome. You really get to know people in a very unique way when you have that kind of experience together. Like, it's so unique. It's like you're there with a common purpose and a common goal, and you just have to just do it together, keep each other going.
Everyone else in that group was like, I think I was jokingly like, oh, I would, but I'm busy that day.
I'm busy that month.
I'm busy. I was like, oh, I'm busy that day in a year. Like, man,
sorry, man. Can't do June, July. It's all booked up.
Sorry, man. I was like,
but I had wanted to do something for so long. So the second he said, I was like, oh man, like that sounds so cool. And then he was just like, he texted me privately too. He's just like, are you actually interested? I was like, dude, yeah,
that's
like,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, now we can catch up on some things that you missed while you were gone.
Yeah, I had no service. I was disconnected from the world.
We were like,
it was wonderful.
Sending you all the good sales, all the good
all the memes,
thoughts on games,
the news,
everything, and you were just 5 feet from death the whole time.
I was up touching the sky closer to heaven than I've ever been in more ways than one.
Well, death is a good segue because we can talk about the death of Daedalic.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know where you were going with that one.
Yeah, there's been a death in the industry, like, folks.
Who died? Yeah, I believe it's Daedalic. This is very sad because
this is a little sad. It is a little sad.
They made a very bad game. And nobody will ever deny that. But like you don't want to see companies shut down. It's a bummer.
I agree, especially
they've been around
smaller
for a long
ones.
Time.
The Lord of the Rings Gollum developer to close after disastrous launch. Daedalic cancels a second Lord of the Rings game in development. Publisher Daedalic Entertainment is closing the Hamburg, Germany-based internal studio that made Lord of the Rings Gollum and has ended development on a second project based on the Lord of the Rings intellectual property. The company is confirmed to Polygon. Daedalic will instead fully focus on its publishing business, which is interesting.
Yeah, they're not.
I wonder what else they'll publish.
Totally shutting down. I mean, I looked at their, I almost said their discography, their game, their what would you call that? Like their library.
Oh yeah, what would you call that?
There must be a word.
I guess
for that.
Game library.
Yeah,
someone's got to make a term for that.
Yeah, go to Wikipedia. Hello,
Gameography.
Do you know? Yeah, I looked at it a bit. Like they've been around for a while. They've made like a lot of really interesting kind of like classic adventure style games. Like they had an audience that really liked the stuff that they were putting out, and I would be so fascinated to know what really happened here. I think this is like maybe the biggest example of a company biting off more than they could chew to the point where they literally like choked to death on it.
Yeah. I wonder how they even got the business, if I'm being honest. Like,
yeah.
They must have had a hell of a pitch. Like, I don't know, or I don't know how this ended up happening. Pretty sure this happened under Amazon after Amazon purchased Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I would guess because like they used to be so like the Tolkien estate had such a tight grip on this stuff. We're seeing it happen all over the place. Like the second his son, rest in peace, Christopher Tolkien, my man, he passed away. Man, they just started selling this license to everybody.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It was, first of all, they got it for a steal. They got it for $250 million. That seems very low.
Who did? Daedalic or Amazon?
Amazon.
Yeah.
It was in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they got the 250 million Lord of the Rings purchase price is 1,000 times what Tolkien first got for it. Okay, yeah, no shit. Like, obviously, Jesus,
Yeah,
what kind
they
of headline is that? But
Christopher
yeah, it was in
Tolkien was so
2017.
he was so like virulently protective of this stuff. And you kind of see why now, because it's like, when you want to let anybody get in there and start making it, it's like you're gonna have some great stuff, you're gonna have some stinkers, and it's just how you can balance like what effect on the brand do you think that's gonna have? Because I'm just imagining like something like this coming out like any time previously. It feels like the brand of Lord of the Rings like is kind of it's dipping a little bit, some ups and downs.
Yeah, yeah, they're running into like the Disney plusification of a beloved IP, and I think it's like a little
Yeah,
more tragic than that in this case because this is like
beloved literature.
this is like classic literature. It's not even like this is Star Wars that was like a cool
A fun
sci-fi thing in the
pulpy movie.
70s
Yeah,
that
yeah,
made movies cooler.
yeah.
This
Like
is like
this is
this is
poetry,
like
man.
sacrilege. This is crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's just
like
as far as the
again,
game goes, it's like
yeah, as far as the game goes,
it's just crazy. Like for a company like this that had never made, I don't know if they'd even made like 3D games before, like let alone something like this, to make like an adventure stealth game with like dialogue trees and like
mhm.
radiant AI for like
It
relationship. It's like it's
not
insane.
I feel bad the studio closed. I feel bad they didn't put out a very good game. It from what I've seen of the game, it honestly does look like if you and me decided to make a game, right? And like we made something way beyond expectations of ourselves. Like we were like blown away that we even produced this thing,
Yeah,
but we still made it.
yeah. It was just like two
It
dudes in
just
a basement.
and like at the end of the day, like it's still not that good.
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah.
like, wow, look at this thing we made, but it like sucks. It is dog shit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that is kind of what this game is. Like I've seen a lot of glitches of it's a weird lesson in seeing like edge cases of like, oh, like how do you actually program like enemy AI, and like this person like got stuck in like an endless loop of like getting
hmm,
spotted and then like spawning in the same spot. So he would spawn, get caught, spawn, get caught, spawn, get caught. He was just stuck in an endless loop. It's like these weird edge cases of like when you jump over something, how do the physics react to where you land?
yeah,
Like if you land on the edge of something, like is it gonna bounce off? Are you just like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think people don't realize when you're programming anything how many edge cases exist, especially in video games, which makes things
yeah.
like the AAA stuff and like really good indies all that more impressive.
Yeah,
And why we see more Unreal projects coming out, because that shit is just handled for you already.
yeah, people want the a la carte, the stuff that they can just piece things together with, and you can't even blame them. Like at this point, with the way how complex development has become, this is such an
You
interesting.
could spend 2 years on the edge cases.
Yeah, literally. Like I mean, the look at Tears of the Kingdom. That game is watertight basically as far as for the most part
Bugs
bugs and stability go, because Nintendo came out and said like, oh yeah, we spent the last year literally just doing like QA,
polishing,
yeah,
yep,
and like polishing the hell out of it.
and thinking
Um,
about those things and thinking
yeah,
about when you use the ascend ability, how does it calculate where you end up? That still
yeah.
blows my mind. I'm still so impressed by that
Yeah,
game.
you can like go through multiple layers of terrain through like a crate. You
Go
can
through a
like,
mountain.
yeah, and then like, oh, there's like an axe on top that might bug out, so he'll be like, nope, and he'll like pop back down, like things like
Yeah,
that.
or he'll just like slightly move over where the axe would be.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. It's
this
that
is an
kind of stuff is so
interesting
impressive.
this game is, I think, interesting in that like the industry has changed so much. I don't want to call this game shovelware because I think that's rude, and I don't think it is. I think they did try their best, but like
Yeah.
there's always been like low budget or just crappy games that come out. That's always been a
Hmm.
thing. We don't remember the crappy games
It feels like
from
we haven't
previous
gotten one in a
generations.
long time, like a
Yeah,
really bad game.
I
And
think.
I think
Mhm.
this game is like when people shit on like 7.5s and this they act like it's this. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? People will see a 7.5 game on a rating or 75 on Metacritic or whatever, and they act the way they talk about it on Twitter. They talk about it like it's this kind of game.
Yeah, yeah. They're it's tricky because of how big the budgets have gotten, and like we associate like when a game reaches a certain point of like public knowledge, we almost demand that it be good, that it be
Yeah.
worth the money, that it be worth our mental real estate of even thinking about it. You know, back in the day, like games are always coming out from random people, just like, you know, look how many games came out on the Wii, probably about like 10,000 games. Most of them were
Right.
not good. Nowadays, if a game, you know, comes out with this price, this level of knowledge about it, like you assume it's going to be good. So there's basically like the eShop and Steam, where you have like the absolute crappiest games of all time for like $5, and then there's a gulf of nothing else, and then there's like the $50, $60, $70 games, and we demand that those be good.
Yep.
So it's like when something comes out at 60 these days, or 70, God forbid, and it's bad, we're like offended. We're like deeply offended by that. It's like, how dare you release a poor product like that?
I'm glad like the newer generation has finally gotten like a truly generational defining bad game, because I think people have gotten spoiled and they need a benchmark. Like we grew up in an era where we had like the Superman for N64.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like,
and you had no idea. That. You would just go to the store and hope.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it was probably like 50-50, maybe even like 60-40 that a game was bad. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
I feel like it was a pretty even split before 2010, maybe even like 2012, that a game was gonna, if a game was gonna be good or bad.
Yeah.
So here we are, new benchmark.
Yeah. I feel bad for them. Like no one sets out to make a bad game. I'm sure that there's lots of reasons for that. Probably budget, management, who knows.
End of the day, I think they serve the greater good. So Daedalic, keep on licking.
Yeah, and they're still publishing. So
on to the next one.
Speaking of good games.
Yeah, speaking of good games, Red Dead Redemption Remaster could be revealed in August. It's claimed. August. From Insider Gaming.
Thanks, Insider
Colin
Gaming.
Moriarty of the Sacred Symbols PlayStation podcast,
mysterious name,
has revealed that he's seen proof of the Red Dead Redemption Remaster, that the Red Dead Redemption Remaster is real and could be revealed in August. In the podcast, Moriarty said, "I have seen confirmation that this is real. I had someone reach out to me behind the scenes that showed me something that definitely shows the game is coming." Bro, that is such a funny sentence. I have seen confirmation that this is real. I have had someone reach out to me behind the scenes that showed me something that it definitely shows the game is coming.
Maybe even immediately.
Does this
imminently?
Exist?
Yeah. It's like you're trying so hard. We don't need that many like affirmations.
It's all like with these weird.
Maybe certainly.
Yeah, maybe certainly it's imminently happening. Maybe.
Yeah, hurry up and wait because maybe it's definitely going to happen. Like that kind of thing.
I had someone show me something that it will maybe happen indefinitely.
Maybe someone showed me something. I definitely saw it.
I definitely saw something that shows me something will be a thing.
Yeah. This has been rumored for a while.
Yeah. This is. I think the biggest piece of evidence that we saw is that there was a raiding in South Korea. Yeah, here we go.
Classic, dude. The South Korean raid. They are a leaky ship. They're a ship with a lot of holes. They're always things are always coming out of there. It's like the first. Anytime like a game leaks, it's always like the South Korean Rating Association.
We salute them for it.
Yeah, thank you for giving us things to talk about.
Rumors of a Red Dead Redemption Remaster began to swirl last week following a new rating for the game in South Korea. The new rating on the Korean rating board suggests that the rating was for a console game, but nothing else suggested that the game would be a remaster or a remake. Yeah, this is really interesting. This is cool. I saw a rumor today that this would actually be like a full remake or a full remaster in the Red Dead 2 engine, which could be cool. Yeah, it'd be great. My only wariness with something like this is like Last of Us Part 1, which you can see right over here, the bottom of it, Ellie's chin. Is that like that was remade in the Last of Us Part 2 engine, and it's like I don't care. Like it doesn't matter that much to me. Like the game still feels and has the exact same physics as the first one. Yeah. Just because something you could paint over an old wall, like if this is $40 or whatever, cool. Yeah. But I don't want to pay $70 for a game that's ported over to a new graphics engine, and that's really it.
It's interesting with one like this because like there's a point I think in terms of like age and availability where it like does kind of roll over. Because Red Dead Redemption, the first one, it never had a PC port, so there's no way, which is kind of like generally like the best way for preservation. there's no PC port. So basically the only way you can play it is on, actually literally I think the only way you can play it is on a 360, a PS3, or emulate it, but that's actually pretty demanding to do for emulating 360 stuff. So it's one of those things where it's a really phenomenal game. I think in a lot of ways, I loved Red Dead 2. It's a beautiful experience, but I think Red Dead Redemption is actually a better game in a lot of ways. Just a little tighter, a little more, I don't know, a little more of that old school kind of gamey feel, a little less cinematic, a little more gamey.
Interesting.
And it's kind of been stuck on those old consoles. So for me, the way, and I could emulate it if I really wanted to, but I would prefer to have a cool new way to play it. So for me, if they really bring it back, like, oh dude, it's really phenomenal. Like just so much fun, huge world, great story, great ending. Yeah. And to me, it's always been kind of a shame that it's one of those things that's stuck on that generation of consoles. Cause again, it never got a PC port, which is wild. But Rockstar
wild.
Yeah. They didn't really do that sort of thing too often back then. So yeah, it's like, if it is just a fresh coat of paint, like, yeah, I'd hope it wouldn't be like $70, but
yeah,
it's the kind of thing where, again, like if it is legitimately a really polished, brand spanking new version of this game, then
you're all in.
I'm pretty excited about that. Cause like I think it's probably more replayable than the second game.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like sat down in a chair for like 150 hours over the course of like a month.
Yeah, just
like that was a bad one. That and like
everything.
Elden Ring were probably like the two games over the last 10 years where I like truly had like a way too long of a period where I was playing it too much. Like I was just like, I could not break away.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, this has been rumored for on and off for a while that they would eventually do some kind of remaster remake of the first game. I hope it's true. I would love to revisit it in a lot of ways. Like John Marston's an awesome character.
Yeah, he is cool.
Yeah. I hope they would if they do this, I hope they do the DLC as well. Undead Nightmare, I think one of those. To this day, one of the best DLCs that I think, I wouldn't even call it a DLC. It's like an expansion for the game.
And it's a zombie thing?
Yeah, it's one of the best I think that's ever been made, because it's basically its own standalone thing. It's really incredible. I really hope you get a chance to play it. Like,
is John in it?
Yeah, it's sort of like a retelling of the story, except like at the very beginning of the game, where things normally happened, suddenly there's like a zombie outbreak in the Wild West. Huh. Like one of the main characters turns into a zombie. Like
that's
crazy
funny.
Things like that. Yeah.
That's what I really appreciate about Rockstar, is their willingness to just like get really silly with it. Yeah, but still keep it really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's grounded, it's silly. There's like a lot of the side quests, instead of like, like you're hunting ducks or whatever in the regular game, it's like, go find the cryptids, go find Bigfoot wandering in the woods, like find like, that kind of thing. It's like just really, it felt like a big Halloween expansion pack. It was the strangest
Red Dead 2 had
thing.
So much of that too.
Yeah, Red Dead 2, they don't, that's the thing about Rockstar too, like they don't really do the DLC or expansion stuff as much anymore, because they've shifted so much over to like
putting
the online
so much
modes.
In the games.
Putting so much in the game for starters, and the online modes as well. So I think the first Red Dead is a really phenomenal package, and if it's available for more audiences, I think that's pretty great. But like you said, the price, if it's just a remaster where it's like the same game but just with an upscaled resolution, then like we'll see. But if it had the work put in for like a new engine, new graphics and stuff like that, then
I'm very interested. I've never played it, so like I do want to play it. I loved Red Dead 2, like adored it, and I think it's cool that it's funny that this works in their favor really well, because it's a sequel technically to Red Dead 2. Yeah.
It's great because
canonically after, so like
there's a lot of folks who played 2 who didn't play 1, and now they can be like
right especially like younger people who like were babies when Red Dead 1 came out. Red Dead 2 was probably like the first great video game for a lot of people.
Probably, yeah.
So this would probably be huge this would probably sell really well no matter what the price is, but we'll see. We'll see what it is. I'm excited to see. I think this is probably going to happen, only because I feel like once you start seeing the ratings come out of different countries, that's
that's usually a sign. It's just funny because like I feel like Red Dead, in air quotes, Red Dead Redemption remake has the same ring as like Bloodborne on PC. You know, like I feel like I've just been
Yeah,
hearing that for so
right.
many years
For so
now that
long.
it's like, okay, yeah, they're doing it
Yeah,
this year. This will be the one. But
yeah.
hey, man,
We'll
South
see.
Korea, they don't lie.
Sekiro 2 first. Let's go. Okay, let's move on to the next thing we got here. So yeah, while you were gone, the FTC hearing kept happening.
Oh, they kept on
It
trucking
was
on.
it was yeah, they
There's
kept on
some
trucking
wacky
on.
stuff going on there. They were like
Dude,
consoles in the hallway. They were like slinging, throwing shade at each other. Like,
lots of crazy stuff. But one of the
yeah.
cool things that came out of it was that Microsoft kind of let on that they think we're going to be getting a PS5 Slim this year. There was talk of this, and then I also saw a rumor of a PS5 Pro that would come out within like the next year as well.
Mm.
So Microsoft thinks we're getting a PS5 Slim model later this year that might be priced at $399.99. The software giant is currently waiting a ruling in the FTC Microsoft hearing, and we'll jump into some of that stuff soon. And as a part of the case, Microsoft has filed documents which reveals it thinks a PS5 Slim is on the way later this year. Here's exactly what Microsoft says. PlayStation likewise sells a less expensive digital edition for $399 and is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year at the same produced price. Yo, I don't know the full context of this, but I hope to God they are not comparing the Xbox Series S to a PlayStation 5 Slim, because that would be or a PlayStation 5 digital, because that would be insane.
Yeah, that's a funny comparison. It's the kind of thing that like they could get away with some consumers maybe by being like they're like the same price, but it's like, you know, we know the S is significantly, you know, less powerful, but that's
Yeah,
different
the
topic.
difference between the other one is just the disk drive.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere else where apparently it's a rumor that they're going to sell a. Oh, here it is. Insider Game reported last year that Sony was preparing for a PS5 with a detachable disk drive for September 2023. The console is rumored to be sold on its own without the disk drive or in a bundle, which suggests Sony could be considering making a slimmer version of the PS5 the default. This would allow people to pick with or without a bundled drive, with the option to add a drive later on. Currently, you have to either buy a $399 PS5 digital edition or $499 PS5 with a disk drive, but there's no option to connect an optional drive at a later date. Yeah, this is like really interesting too, and I could see this like becoming more of a normalcy actually as we go.
We're seeing more companies, you know, kind of theoretically doing like digital only releases, and you know, I hate to see it for preservation for physical media, but it makes sense if, you know, there is a way to get a cheaper, slimmer piece. You know, it's the reason that, you know, the Switch is as small as it is. You know, it's mostly digital stuff. It uses the small cartridges. Like when you have less moving parts, less, you know, things like that, you can make things slimmer, lighter, cooler, all that kind of thing. So
would you want a detachable and like a choosable disk drive option if it meant you could just get like a cheaper console like off the jump?
It's hard to say. Like, I'm mostly digital these days, so like it wouldn't affect me too much. It's so hard to say, because I would say yes, I do. I would go for something slimmer and lighter if it was digital only with the option of getting the hard drive, only because like I'm thinking like, oh, well, there's other people who will support physical and get the disc drive.
I'm mostly digital too, but like every once in a while something will come out where I just want a physical just version a nice copy of it. If you can see, I don't know if you can see back here, I got the Cuphead Collector's Marionette.
Oh yeah.
And then the other day, last week, went out.
Dude, the big dog.
Dude,
I gotta play it. I gotta beat Diablo 4 first. I'm diving into that. I'm like a couple weeks behind everybody.
I know.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
Things I want physical. There's some things I want physical just to have.
Yeah, of course. It is very interesting. I guess that's the thing for me, is that like I can't help but feel like there's like an ulterior motive, you know, where it's like this is cool, and it does make sense that like you can make a smaller, slimmer, and cooler model without a disk drive. That's just a fact. But I don't think that it's just necessarily because it's like, you know, cooler, more convenient, or pro-consumer. It's, you know, I feel like there's this kind of like slow creep towards everything being fully digital and them having that control over it.
I agree, but I think these companies would love to get rid of physical copies. Yeah,
because then they control the means, they control the production. You know, they control
everything. If you can play the game. Yeah, they can control which version of the game you play.
Yeah,
they can control and they don't want people sharing copies. People do.
Yeah.
They do not want people sharing copies. Like,
Yeah, they lose money. A shared copy is a copy that they didn't make money on. That's just a fact.
yeah, I would love to like know more about people who like. There's probably so many groups of friends and family who are just like, oh yeah, I'll buy that, and then we can split it. We can split the cost.
Yeah. I used to do that all the time with folks back in the day when I was more in the market of like, well, I had less money for starters and just wanted to share games more often. And it's very nice.
I never did that, but what I did was when GameStop had their 7-day return policy, I would beat a game within a week and then return it.
Nice,
and buy a new
classic.
game. I had a $30 rotation. Like I had a $30 pool. I basically had $30 invested in GameStop for like months.
I had some friends who did that too. What a wild time. GameStop was really throwing us around there.
GameStop was funding me, bro. I made $30 probably stretched like 1,000 at GameStop at one point.
Yeah, in terms of just like new purchases.
Well, do you remember going to GameStop? You'd see the wall of Game Boy games, and
oh yeah, all those used games. You would just be like, every store was different too. You'd be like,
I'd rip a new one every week. I was like a person who would, wear a tie once and throw in the garbage, wear socks once and throw in the garbage. I'd be like, done.
I need new ones.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. And then lastly, they just tacked on that they also think that the Project Q will be under 300. There's a report last week that the Project Q will be 300, which I need to see what this thing is. I don't know what the Project Q is. I don't know how it's going to function. I mean, like the base, line, the baseline cell right now is that it's remote play is on a screen. Which cool, doesn't really appeal to me a whole lot. If that's all it is, if it has some kind of faster remote play or remote play is improved with it or something.
I wonder. What do you think a killer price for this thing would be? What do you think would really have it? 200. That's what I was thinking too. I think
$200.
$199. $199.99. Like
$200. I think like 250. Anything in the twos. I think like 250.
Yeah, I think that's like that's a number consumers would like price. To see.
I think 300. You're pushing
crazy.
it
Because then you're competing at 300. You're competing with the Switch. You're competing with some PC handhelds that start to get around that price. Like
that's buy
tough.
a Steam Deck at that point. Throw another 100 down, get the cheapest Steam Deck, and you can put remote play on there. And it's like it's
because like I'm thinking about manufacturing costs. I understand it's like if that monstrosity that we've seen in the photos is actually what it's going to look like.
So
it's
gross.
Essentially got a DualSense with all of the various hardware in there,
which is really cool.
They're expensive,
but that's the thing. Can DualSense even work through remote play?
It had better.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what is it? I don't know what this thing is.
That's what I said the last time we talked about this. Like, I think this thing needs this. The software has to carry it. It's got to be like a very seamless, bespoke kind of remote play experience where it's just smoother. It's got better stuff.
To have its own like OS. And friend of the show, I'm self-proclaiming him a friend of the show, Bob Wolf over at the Wolf Den. I don't know where I saw him mention this. It's either like a short he made or on his podcast. He said that he brought up a good point that Sony was reportedly recently looking into like server-based gameplay. So like your game would live on a server. So if the Project Q has its own like OS and it uses your save files but plays the game off of a dedicated server, then maybe we're talking about something else, and maybe that's a lot more interesting, right? Because if you're playing it off of like a server and now the DualSense and everything can interact with the game in that way as opposed to just being like a Wi-Fi video transmission, then maybe we're talking about something else. And I think that maybe then 300 is worth it then, if it's a different kind of experience. But if it's turn the screen on, it auto connects to your PS5, and now you're just looking at your PS5 on this thing, $300, I don't know.
It's tough. Like with the manufacturing cost, you've got the full DualSense. Like if it's just a DualSense and a screen and it's just doing remote play, like that's got to be a really nice screen. Like the cost has to come from somewhere. It's got to be a really nice screen, have enough of a processor in there that like maybe it can run other apps or like an Android tablet. This thing is a mystery. This thing is a giant mystery right now. which is
It is a
like
big mystery.
driving
And
me nuts
it's
because I
supposed
want
to
to
come out
know.
this year, right?
Yeah, I want to know more about it. Like I'm really curious. Like I've actually put a decent amount of time into Diablo 4 on my PS5, played through remote play on my Steam Deck, and it's actually
Yeah.
been a really good experience on a local network. Like a very, very good experience.
Yeah. After you did that,
So
I did the same thing for Final Fantasy 16,
yeah,
just because I've been playing it so much. It's sometimes I got
yeah,
to get up
that's a
and
great
go
game
somewhere
for it
else.
too, to just kick back
Yeah.
and like, play.
The only thing
It's
is
not going to be like
sometimes it's
fully.
so cinematic that I feel bad playing it through remote
Yeah,
play on the
yeah, for
Steam
sure.
Deck, so I don't try to play like. But if I'm doing around doing all the side quests and
Yeah,
stuff, then I'll
side
like,
quests, exploring a
yeah,
bit, like
exploring and stuff. But once I get to like the boss fights and stuff, I'm like, okay, let me.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good experience. So I'm like,
I was
if the
shocked.
price
I
is
haven't
right,
used it in
like
a while. I haven't used remote play in a while because I didn't have a very good experience with it like a year or two ago.
yeah,
I was very surprised with how good it ran for Final Fantasy 16.
yeah. I think like local network is pretty darn good now. I think they've really got that nailed down. Um, Over the internet, from a distance, that's the tricky one. That always sucks, and that's just the nature of the physics of it. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I really want to see more of this thing.
yeah, me too. Okay, here's a really cool bit of news. Actually, I found this one really interesting. I'm excited to hear what you think about this. So Valve won't approve Steam games that use
Hmm.
copyright infringing AI artwork. On Thursday, various outlets reported on a June Reddit post from user PotterHarry97 saying that Steam would no longer be publishing games with AI generated content. Later in the month, another game dev penned a similar post. Valve says that's not quite right. In a statement emailed to The Verge, Valve PR representative Casey Boyle said the company's goal is not to discourage the use of AI on Steam. Instead, we're working through a how to integrate it into our already existing review policies. She wanted to say that the company's current review process takes into account current copyright law and that while developers can use AI technologies in their work, they cannot infringe on existing copyrights. Boyle said that Steam will refund app submission credits for any developers whose games were rejected over AI copyright issues. As the company refines its review process, it made the same offer to Powder Harry 97. Thank God. Um,
Yeah,
thank
this
God,
is.
Powder Harry 97 got justice.
Thank God,
Um,
we were worried for you, Potter Harry 97.
Valve's developer submission rules disallow content you don't own or have adequate rights to. Potter Harry 97 included the rejection message in their post, which said their game contains art assets generated by artificial intelligence that appears to be relying on copyrighted material owned by third parties. I love this. I think this is a
I do too.
great move from Valve. I feel
Yeah,
like Valve's like,
yeah,
besides them just not making trilogies and hot dropping hardware, I feel like they just like make really good decisions a lot of the times. And I feel
yeah,
like this is one of them where I
yeah,
think like people try to like kind of push out like AI and these things on Twitter. Look what AI did. It's like, well, you kind of just took a lot of pre-existing stuff and now
yeah,
mashed it together and it's saying like, look what I did with AI. It's like, well,
yeah,
all of this is on the back of other people. So I am very happy that Valve's doing this. I think this is a really smart way to frame and like look at AI generated content in a mass way.
yeah. It's the whole AI art thing, man. It's like it's such a can of worms. Like I got my own feelings about it. This I think this is a great move from Valve. And the funny thing is it's not even saying like, oh, good guy Valve. I think like, obviously they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get hit
Yeah.
by copyright stuff. So like
Right.
they're to a
Right.
degree they're obviously looking out for their service and their own legal standing. But at the same time, like there need to be companies that are doing this and taking a stand on these sorts of things regarding AI because it's very unregulated right now. And like you said,
Yeah.
so many of these things, like these AI models, are trained on art, they're trained on language, they're trained on content that people have created, and it's like it's the wild west of basically someone's like, oh, like I made this awesome painting using this AI thing, and it like was trained on some person in, I don't know, China who's been painting their entire life, who has like an incredible style, and this thing just scanned it, and now they can make something that looks exactly like it. And it's like people are pushing this art out left and right everywhere, and it's like there's no way of predicting which I saw something earlier, like a tweet where it was like a hole, like a crack is kind of showing in it, where someone was just like, oh, I used this like Mid-Journey prompt to make like amazing art, and like now it doesn't look the same. Like, does anyone know what's wrong? Is this a bug? And it's like the model like trained itself on something slightly different, and now it like looks different. So it's like it's constantly like these things are always finding new stuff, new sources, and like I I I mean, if I had to have a hot take, like I think AI generated art and stuff should basically be banned from these platforms entirely. I think there's just no
Yeah.
way of there's no way of like actually knowing what it was trained on, where this stuff is coming from, and I think it's just lame. I don't know. Pay
It is
artists.
lame.
Like,
Did you see the
it's lame.
Did you see that Marvel made their most recent show on Disney Plus? They did the opening credits with AI,
Yeah, it looks like dog
and
shit.
it looks horrible. It looks so bad. Like
Yeah,
this is the corporatization of art. This is like it personified to me.
yeah,
It
literally,
has
and
no life. It feels so digital and bland.
yeah,
Like it has no personality. We're talking about like a TV show with characters and story
and
and
actors and
the
artists.
and artists and
Yeah,
creators
what is
and
that?
yeah, and it's
What
like
is this?
it feels like a blob. It feels like a something vomited up like alien, the word
Yeah,
alien.
it's just soulless, man. Like I recognize and I appreciate like the cool technology that's behind it. Like I get that, and that's very neat. But like I'm sorry, man. Like I'm someone who, call me old fashioned, but like I think art requires a human touch. I just think it does. Like
Yeah.
I can recognize. I know it'll get better and better, and like, but I can always recognize like AI created art right now, because like there's always something uncanny about it that like looks a little shitty or a little weird, and like, like a hand or a face or a feature that doesn't look quite right. And like companies will start doing this more and more if they can get away with it. Like they will, anytime a company or a corporation, or even like, small individual people can get away with, like, and I say this as someone who worked in the arts for many years as an actor, like if people can get away with not paying artists for their labor, they
They
will.
will. Yeah,
They will
100%.
every time, if they can get away with it. So
Yep.
like this stuff being as easy right now to access for most people as just like going to a website and typing in a prompt, um, and then like, adding it to their game, adding it to their movie, their TV show or something like that, and then just putting it up for, paying customers. Like they'll keep doing it, until
Yeah.
more. And again, like it's not even like Valve being like the most moral company on the planet, but them just literally saying like, no, like this is, you have to be able to prove that, like, if this is AI created, it can't have any kind of copyright trace in it, which is, I don't even know how possible it is to actually do that, which is, it might as well be a blanket ban on AI art for
Yeah, I
where it
agree.
is right now.
And I totally agree with your statement on like artists not being paid. I mean, she ended up being a shitty person, but the woman who voiced Bayonetta,
Oh
when she was
yeah.
offered like the 20K to be Bayonetta and Bayonetta 3, that's insane.
Hmm.
$20,000, yes, that is a lot of money that is a lot of money in like in a vacuum, that is a lot of money. To play Bayonetta after like coming into the third one, it's like one of the best selling video game franchises ever. I
Hmm.
have to imagine at its worst, Bayonetta 3 is somewhere in the worst possible case scenario, without looking at any number, has to be in at least the top 10% of video games sold. If you looked at every video game ever sold, it has to be in the top 10%, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, it For someone like that, right? To say, hey, for the company to say, hey, we're giving you 20,000, that's it. That's insane. That's
A,
insane. That's ludicrous. That's like criminal. I
yeah,
think she wanted a percentage. They deserve that. They are a part of this product that will be sold and
yeah,
resold, remastered, copied, remade, produced, republished to different platforms in perpetuity forever.
yeah.
Twenty
AI
thousand dollars
voices,
for
AI
the
voices are a thing that's
Bayonetta
coming too.
Master Collection in 10 years, like all of this shit that will happen forever, merchandise, blah blah. 20,000. That is a joke. That is a
Yeah,
joke, and it sucks you end up being a terrible person.
yeah,
But
she,
it doesn't take away
unfortunately.
from the point of like, you know, artists deserve to be paid for their things in perpetuity, not in
Yeah.
these small flat fees that are a fucking steal for these massive billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, and we're starting to see them, go beyond just the art too. Like I said, AI voices is a very weird thing that's kind of starting to happen right now, where some companies are basically just training models on on actors, on their voices,
Mm-hmm.
and then having them just create, dialogue for their games or for their audiobooks or something like that. And like, there's probably some blue check marks on Twitter who think that's the coolest thing on the planet and think it's some kind of like democratization of like content creation. But it's like,
Grow up.
come on, man. Like, these are human beings. These are human beings.
Elon's
and their
not going to
livelihood
bang you, bro.
away. Yeah.
And speaking of that, like the writer's strike in Hollywood, that's going in its third month. Not even Hollywood, around the country.
Yeah.
That's going into its third month. I think the main centerfold of that is AI. They are because the writers got absolutely destroyed. They got absolutely boned on the streaming
stuff,
the streamers,
big time.
And they don't want that to happen again. And then now, 10 years later, 15 years later, whatever, what it is the new form of that is AI.
Mm-hmm.
And the production companies, they don't care, man. They will if they don't have to pay, they won't. There's no there's no morality there.
They'll have an AI write an entire script and then maybe pay someone an hourly wage to touch it up.
Yeah.
Like if they can, they'll get away with. They'll try and get away with that. Like,
and I think that's part of the reason why the Secret Wars thing is so distasteful right now.
Yeah, because Marvel's known for underpaying their effects people. Like, that's just kind of a known fact in the industry, and like trying to kind of get away with getting a bit more for a bit less.
And it's the same thing as like how we were just talking about. The next step is maybe Sony does an optional disc drive, and then maybe the next console doesn't have one.
Yeah,
it's these little things. It's these little tiptoes towards. Oh, well, we used AI on the opening sequence. Why don't we try having it write a scene?
Yeah. Or like, we couldn't get this actor for, to be on. Well, we couldn't get him to be on set, busy schedule. But in their contract, we have their likeness, so we can actually just
use their voice,
AI them into the scene, or use their voice, or even just literally create an AI representation of them, like, and just put it in the scene, like that kind
of thing. Which is
like
why I think, like you're saying, paying artists, treating them fairly, paying like workers in general, paying them fairly is so important. And I think it's something that's getting like more and more out of hand. So I think this stance from Valve, or the way Valve is treating this, and like you said, they're probably looking out for themselves, right? But I think the way that they're treating this is very important, because I think it's going to put a lot of this AI work in its place if this is how it's treated. I imagine we'll have some kind of AI court case within the next 5 to 10
there's going to
years.
be a big one. It's like, we live in a capitalist society, and the people who really kind of make the rules happen are the big companies. And Valve is a huge company in the PC gaming space and in the stock market. They're private, but giant company, like multi-billion-dollar company. And like, if they take a stance on something like this, whether it's moral or not, other people will probably follow suit, because that's just the way it trickles down. So for them to come out and say, like,
stuff as precedent to sue, or to
to say, like, if it's AI, like, we're going to take a look. If we think it's AI, you're going to have to like prove that it is or it isn't, and then you have to prove X, Y, and Z. Then I think it's a good way to go about it. Because like, if you got art that you're AI generating, like, you could probably pay like $100 to someone on Twitter and commission them. Like, I think you could afford a commission.
Exactly. It's
call me.
You can pay more than $20,000 for one of the biggest franchises ever.
Yeah.
To have the voice actor be paid forever.
Yeah, so, we're gonna see that go places over the next few years for sure. Just 100%. Whatever the hell is going on with AI.
100%. Okay, let's move over to the last thing. Hold on one second. I just want to pull something up. So while you were gone, one of the big things that happened was,
I think you're saying that like I was like under
Dude,
the.
You felt like you were gone for
like
a month. Honestly, I felt like you were.
Yeah,
gone.
I felt
like you missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah, crazy.
So one of the big things that happened while you were gone, was that, let me pull this up. There was a billionaire white party, like a what? Wow, that sounds bad.
Whoa, easy there.
There was a whiteout party at some billionaire's house with every celebrity Like almost every celebrity imaginable
Hey,
to be at this thing,
it's Bobby
including
Kotick.
our boy
Oh my god,
Bobby Kotick
Dude's
rolling in
looking
with James
sun-kissed.
Corden. Look
Oh
at
my
this.
god.
Look at this list. You got Jack Harlow, Kim Kardashian. I think that's. I don't even know if that was that beard looked like James Harden. Like NBA players, rappers, musicians, and then you have a Bobby Kotick rolling in.
Oh my
Look
god,
at Bobby.
with that
Bobby's coming
grin.
in fresh off the
Fresh off the
testimony.
yacht,
Fresh
dude.
off the testimony, dude. Fresh out of the FTC courtroom, baby. Just fucking.
Look at it. That's a man who has nothing to fear.
No,
That man doesn't
guys.
have a care in the world.
I am sad to announce that the acquisition 100% is happening. Look at this guy's grin. Dude, look at this guy. Look,
next to James Corden, no less.
I've never seen a bigger grin in my life.
Yeah, it's like he's gnashing his teeth.
Dude, look
is
at
he
this.
rolling?
This guy is.
Is Bobby rolling right now?
Oh, look, there's Caitlyn. There's Kendall Jenner. We got
One of them.
everybody here. Kendall Jenner. Yo, it's insane that we're looking
Where
at
was
Kendall
my
Jenner.
invite? I was
Next
on the
frame,
mountain, so I couldn't make it. You know. I was busy.
Yeah, you're busy.
Yeah, I got an email and everything.
Oh my god, dude, this guy's walking in with his Diablo Immortal money, dude. Just
it's like he's walking up to everybody at the party like, "Did you play Diablo 4?"
Yo, everyone gets a copy of Diablo 4.
But he's not giving out free copies. Are you kidding me?
To see him here. Is he a billionaire?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Actually, hold on. Bobby Kotick net worth. Can I get a number crunch on that? Hold on, I'm gonna try not to. I'm muting my microphone so you don't hear it tapping.
No, this guy's he's broke, bro. Wait, hold on, I have two wildly different numbers here.
Yeah, I mean, net worth websites are always kind of garbage, but we can get a ballpark.
Numbers
maybe.
are like
this
wildly.
One says 600 million. This one says 7 billion.
Yes, that's what I see. 600 billion, 6. We have 600 million here, 7 billion in the next one, 600 million in another one, then 8 billion. Those are very different numbers.
Who am I going to trust? CelebrityNetworth.com, TheRichest.com.
This one says net worth of 64 million. These numbers are all, dude. Okay. It's because he doesn't really exist. That's the thing. He's not a real person. This is AI.
Man, he's AI generated. He's an AI generated CEO.
But I'm convinced. And then it's like after that, it's
Kevin
just
Hart,
like Kevin Durant,
like do you think Bobby Kotick is talking
Jay-Z and Beyonce, dude?
Yeah,
Jay-Z and Beyonce, and then it's just like, and then again,
this looks like a Fire Island ad. Not a Fire Island. Fire Island's great. I meant Fire Festival.
And it's just like Bobby. Hey James, you want to be the CMO of Activision once this merger goes through?
Why is he next to James Corden?
Oh yeah, I bloody love that. Yeah,
bloody love Activision.
Nick Cat's the game, yeah. Cat's the game, live action, yeah.
Did you see Cats? I was in that one.
This blew me away. This honestly, I'm not kidding. This makes me think the deal is absolutely happening. I've never seen someone more happy. This is ridiculous.
Look at the pale skin around his eyes and how red his face is. That man's been in a tanning booth. 100%.
This kind of makes me like him more. I don't know why. Like, just seeing so happy. Like
it's humanizing. It's like that damn puff piece with him like smiling into the camera, looking all sad. Like, that popped collar that he's wearing probably cost like at least like $5,000 like minimum. Like,
oh yeah,
everything
100%.
He's wearing is probably
and also
insane.
No, never mind. All right. Anyway,
oh god, that was really funny. I'm glad you pulled that up.
So before he went to the billionaire white party,
which is just a truly heinous thing to say.
Truly heinous. He had to go to trial first.
Philly Spencer with a bottle of Fiji water.
Philly Spencer with a bottle of Fiji. Nice suit too. I wonder if Phil was at that party.
There, Phil.
You think he went with Bobby? He might have, honestly. They probably had the FTC judge there too.
They just rolled in together off the same yacht.
So a lot's been happening here with this thing.
Yeah.
A lot of things have been going on. A lot of dirty laundry coming out. But it seems like both sides have made their cases in the FTC hearing.
Yeah.
So now I think the next step, it basically comes down to this judge who has till I think July 18th to make a decision We'll
Oh
we'll
wow.
see. A lot of things that I've been hearing about this have been coming out of like fandom Twitter from both sides.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
It's hard to
incredibly
get a beat on
difficult.
it.
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on like what's actually happening. But overall, a lot of dirty laundry came out about this. Let me actually pull up something where there's like a lot of different examples of things. Let me see
This
right
whole thing is so
here.
funny. It really reminds me of like the old console wars with like Sega and Nintendo in like the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. Just like classic kind of shit flinging, of like this nonsense.
Yeah. So whether the Federal Trade Commission wins its antitrust case or not, its attempt to stop Microsoft's 68.7, damn, 3 million shy, billion acquisition of Blizzard has revealed a trove of new data for everyone. The FTC has argued that in a federal court that the merger would harm competition in the gaming industry and be bad for consumers, as Microsoft could pull Activision Blizzard's games like Call of Duty away from Sony PlayStation, despite Microsoft's stated intention of not doing so for at least 10 years,
Oh,
which
how nice
does
of
not
them.
mean anything, by the way. 10 years is
Yeah,
so
that's look at
fast.
them. Yeah.
But while all of this has been happening, there's just been like so many quotes from these different people. We found out things like Last of Us cost like 200 million to make, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, all because someone at Sony like didn't properly use a Sharpie. Did you see that?
It's yeah, it's like this is what I mean. It's like this weird like it pokes holes in our notion that like everything is being handled by like adults who know what they're
Yeah,
doing.
exactly. It's all just people. Like when it comes down
Yeah.
to it, it's all just people. There are some other really interesting quotes. I think like the biggest thing that bothers me about Microsoft's stand on their in court here, what the way they're
Hmm.
arguing is that, like, to sum it up, their argument is that Xbox is the third. They are in third place in console share. They are the
Yeah.
third place player in consoles. Now, why I hate that argument is, one, because it's not the Xbox Activision merger. It's
Mm.
the Microsoft Activision
Yeah.
merger.
Yeah.
And two, uh yes, maybe you're third in consoles. Microsoft is on 74% of PCs. Like the Windows OS is on
Yeah.
74% of it, makes up 70% of operating system share. Now,
Yeah.
yes, a
In the
lot of that's
world.
going to be like office computers and not gaming computers, but to discount or to discredit those PCs are essentially consoles as well that
Yeah.
you basically like see the market share of.
Yeah, they've brought their Xbox brand closer and closer to basically saying, yeah, it's Windows PCs and it's our console hardware.
Yeah,
It's basically the
Xbox
same thing.
Anywhere.
Yeah, Xbox Anywhere, literally.
Xbox Anywhere, literally. Like so I hate that argument. And I think what plays into that more is that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he said in court, he said, if it was up to me, I would love to get rid of the entire exclusives on consoles. I have no love for that world. And I think that is such like a disingenuous thing to say when, again, you are Microsoft, who has 74% of operating system share in that
Yeah.
industry.
And, ship of Theseus, most people at Microsoft have come and gone over the years, but at the end of the day, Microsoft is a company that famously had, what was it? It was like embrace, extend, extinguish, I think was like their philosophy in like the 90s and
Oh,
early
really?
2000s, where it was like from internal documents when there was the antitrust against them, where Windows shipped only with Microsoft or Internet Explorer, and basically stopped people from having any other browser on their computer, which killed Netscape Navigator, which killed competition. And the US government, in this case, thank God, actually managed to beat them in court and say sorry, I'm hearing a voice behind me. You have to allow other browsers and software and stuff on your platform. It can't be that closed off because that's a monopoly. And yes, that was many years ago, but they're still the same company. They're still the same like $1 trillion company
Yes.
that will do anything that they can to control these things. Like any company will. And so them having that much money, that opportunity, I think you saying, it is like the Microsoft acquisition rather than the Xbox acquisition is an important way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's how the
In
CMA looked at it. You
Yeah.
know, they really highlight Azure as a like large component as to why this deal is problematic. And I
Mhm.
100% agree, because
Yeah.
Azure is what's powering everything for them.
Mhm.
It's totally a game changer, I think. But and again, yeah, there's another line here from Phil, where he says, "Well, while competing fiercely is fine, he didn't say this, but while competing fiercely is fine, using monopoly power to drive a rival out of business so you can raise prices later on is a no-no. Arguing the opposite was true. Xbox chief Phil Spencer said Xbox in third place was quote unquote not a robust business." That's insane. That's ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement. And again, it's not about Xbox merging with Activision. We're talking about Microsoft merging with Activision.
Yeah.
It's
Acquiring, having
acquiring.
at the end of the day complete control over it, whether they leave them alone to kind of do their own thing or not. Like that's still corporate control. And
100%.
it's just it's funny. Like again, I want competition. I want Xbox to do well. I want their hardware to do well. I don't want anyone to have like full control over anything. But I just think it's in the gaming industry in particular. It's so funny to hear them just say something like, "Oh, but like we're in third place. We're really struggling."
Yeah,
It
we're
sounds like
just
someone saying like,
we're just little
"Yeah,
guys.
well, you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses," like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Where it's
Like
like
shut
you're kind
up,
of
dude.
yeah, like we're the little we're struggling over here, and it's like yeah, there's valid reasons for saying that if you're looking at, console market share, all these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, again, it's Microsoft. You can't separate the Xbox brand from
You
the
can't.
monolith of monopolistic history that
Yeah.
is Microsoft.
And
Like
like
they've always tried to get away with it.
I think a lot of people who I talk to about this like think I don't understand, or think that people who argue that point don't understand what a subsidiary is. Like I understand. We understand what a subsidiary is of a corporation. We know Xbox is treated as an individual business unit within Microsoft. I understand all of that. It does not change the fact that Azure is completely powering the technologies that are being pumped behind Xbox and the technologies that are going to be pushed to the consumer. Who
Mhm.
controls that price point of Azure, of Xbox, of the games that are being published first party by them? It's the main corporation. It's Microsoft. It's all of their profit lines. It's all the same company. So it doesn't really matter if it's a subsidiary that's being treated as a different business unit. Microsoft could even be like intentionally making it look like Xbox is less profitable than it is to allow things like this to happen.
That's true. Nothing's stopping them.
And
I guess laws, but who cares?
there's even like your conversation. Amazon might do the same thing with Twitch. They
Mhm.
make these things look less profitable for a wide variety of reasons, and it's all under the same umbrella. It does not matter. It really doesn't. And I
Yeah.
think the CMA took the CMA looked at it like that. They looked at
Yeah.
it. They looked at Microsoft as a whole. They didn't focus on Xbox, which I think is something that worries me about just a lot of what I'm hearing from this court hearing, is that it seems very focused on Xbox individually,
Mhm.
PlayStation individually, not
Yeah.
like. And that's what's always bothered me about this. And what was so refreshing about the CMA document reading was that it was like
Yeah.
the decision was not focused on Xbox, Sony, and Call of Duty. It was focused on like the gaming industry, the
Yeah.
entire landscape. And I think that's something that's missing
Yeah.
from a lot of what I've been reading about this. There's a
Mhm.
quote about that the judge even said to the FTC at one point, like, it's not about hurting Sony, it's about hurting the consumer. Like that's
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm worried. And again, like this is just how American government is. There's such a lack of understanding, especially when it comes to technology.
Yeah. Big
Um,
time.
so I'm nervous, but
Yeah.
we'll see what
It's
happens.
it's like it's the kind of thing where again, like if it sounds like we're just crapping on Microsoft constantly, it's like I would be I get mad about this sort of thing happening with any company. It's not about Microsoft or Xbox specifically. It just happens that Microsoft is the one trying to buy them right now, so they're
Yeah.
in the hot seat. So it's not. It's like a whataboutism. I think in some ways to be like, oh, but like PlayStation did this and that, and I'm like, if PlayStation was trying to buy Activision, if Sony was trying to buy Activision, I would also think that was a horrible idea.
Yeah,
Like, I
100%.
don't want them to have
Yes.
them either.
Right. I don't want them to have me. Yeah. When I read that they might get, there were the rumors of them buying CD Projekt Red, I was like, oh no, I hope that's
Yeah,
not.
like when they bought Bungie, They bought Bungie, right? That was like
Yeah,
a
they
full
bought.
acquisition. That
Yeah, it's a little weird because I think Bungie has
they retain some like
some
independence
yeah, a
and
lot of
stuff,
like
but like
operational things, but yeah.
that grossed me out too, because like Bungie is like the kings and queens of like
MTX.
MTX and FOMO and like literal psychological like stuff like that. And so like Sony owning that level of like,
Giving them that safety net.
yeah, and that safety net and stuff, it's just like, ooh, that made me feel kind of gross too. I was like, I'd rather Bungie
Yeah, I
be on
didn't.
their own and forced to
Yes,
kind of like,
live
do
and
that sort
die
of
by
thing.
your own decisions and let the MTX experiment work, like
Yeah, because
work
it's
its
like,
own
oh
way.
well, now that shows that like Sony is trying to
Get
use
into live
those kind of
services.
tactics and their
Yep.
other stuff, and that's a whole nother can of worms. So it's just
And
like,
now you have this report of like, and this is exactly the type of consolidation that is horrible, right? You have the rumors that the Last of Us Factions 2 has been like totally put on hold or like slowed down in massive ways because Bungie reviewed it under Sony's request and said
sent
that
their crack team in to take a look at it.
it wasn't like MTX'd enough. And that sucks. And now who's losing out is all the consumers who were just waiting for years for the Factions 2.0.
Yeah,
And now it
just
sounds like if we get it, it's not going to be the same thing. So I
yeah,
think this is like a really good example of consolidation and conglomerations can like just totally neutering
yeah,
and quality products. It happens in different ways. And what makes it more dangerous to me, in my opinion, is that yes, if Sony was trying to acquire Activision, I would hate it too. But what makes this case more dangerous than if it was Sony is that Microsoft is worth $2 trillion and they own a large portion of the cloud service production
yeah,
in the mainstream, right? AWS
yeah.
being like the main one, Azure is probably far behind, but still makes up a like,
Probably the second biggest player.
yeah, exactly. And I think if you have that mentality of like driving out competition and then owning the market and then doing whatever you want, combined with Microsoft not really making very many good products already, like look at, again, we talk about Halo Infinite all the time. It's scary. I think it's scarier, and I think it has more potential for just harming the consumer.
Yeah, at the end of the day, in so many ways, it feels like it's just a race to the bottom between two giant companies that are trying to get away with as much just monetization as they possibly can, which is
Yeah, it
just
sucks.
a bummer. And then there's Nintendo, the meme of like the guy smoking the bong in the background while two people are fighting. They're just doing their own thing. They're making more games on their old ass hardware.
I really hope that like Sony's like buying up studios and like looking like they want to do more live service stuff doesn't result in shittier products, because I think Xbox's fall from grace really started when they started focusing more on their services, not just games services, but like their Game Pass services, like software services, like,
and they've been doing it with their Office software. They've been doing it with everything pretty much for a while now. They were one of the big vanguards leading the charge of like software as a service rather than actually buying a product outright and owning it, which I think sucks. I've always thought that sucked. I hate it. I like being able to buy if it's an option to buy something full price, even if it's more, I'll do it if it means I just have it. I don't want to pay a subscription.
And there was even some quotes in here about like Call of Duty like is worth like 800 million alone to Sony's bottom line, which is like pretty crazy.
The numbers are insane. Some of those numbers are really nuts.
Yeah, some of them are wild. So I think it's like, I think that's where the focus comes around like individual properties, because that's like the sword that can, you can stick in Sony's back, or rather pull out and like kill them.
Slice their head off with it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll see. We'll just not much we can do, but a lot of cool, interesting stuff has come out about this. There was also the really interesting thing about Microsoft. Apparently, they have like a high level of. They really want the King, the mobile aspect of Activision's thing.
Of course they do. I always forget about them. Everybody forgets about King.
Yeah, apparently they tried to get Zynga, I think it was,
Yeah, I
for
just saw that
like,
name on there too, which is funny.
was it
Haven't heard them
Zynga?
in a while.
Yeah, they tried to get Zynga before they even tried to get Activision, and they it got snapped up by Take Two, which I didn't realize. It's kind of funny,
Yeah,
for
that
12
is interesting.
billion. But again, like it's it's those kind of things. Like, and Activision they're already in that world, right? They got Diablo Immortal. I'm sure they have other things cooking.
Oh yeah, they're cooking up as many things as they can to get those credit cards swiping,
And every
those Apple
time one
Pays
of these
rolling.
things happens, like we're gonna see more and more things come out, like Last of Us 2 or Last of Us Factions 2,
Yeah.
slowing down production because it's not monetizable enough.
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch, entire PVE campaigns and like skill tree
Yeah.
modes and everything
Yeah.
gone.
I mean,
Poof.
it goes back to, it's like the opposite thing, like I was saying before about Valve and, like companies leading the charge and setting precedents. And,
Yep.
if a big company like Valve saying, hey, here's some ground rules about AI art, that trickles down. When you see big companies like this trying to make giant acquisitions, the decisions that are made on this trickle down for, potentially the next 5, 10, 20 years in the industry. And if Microsoft, I don't want to say gets away with, because that makes it sound malicious, it's just
Yeah. If
business at
the
the end of
merger
the
is
day. It's like,
approved.
if it's approved, if they do it, then that sets a very powerful precedent for, if you got enough money, you can just keep on
Keep on
buying,
buying.
keep on buying away and have it all under
It's
one,
something that the United
umbrella.
States used to like take very seriously, and they
Yeah.
would break up big companies very quickly when there was a physical product, a physical service that was very easy to understand from a consolidation standpoint. And I think
Yeah.
because a lot of big tech is digital, I
Yeah.
don't think
It's
a
harder
lot
to
of
get
people
a
have
beat
a
on.
good understanding of like what exactly is
Mm.
being consolidated, what exactly is being sold to the consumer,
Yeah.
in what ways it might affect the consumers in long term. It's easy to see those things. Easy is relative, but it's easy to see those things when it is train routes, when it's
Yeah, I
oil
was about to say
fields.
trains. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's like
when
you can
it's
tell when every
banks,
train in America has the same label on it, but it's
right?
like when you're like playing a game on your phone, or you're like buying a disc for your console or thing, it's like it's harder to tell
Right.
whose name
Or
is
when
on
these
it and
games
like
will
who owns
exist in the
what.
cloud,
Yeah, yeah.
and I keep saying it, but the CMA, they killed it. They looked at like subscriptions prices. They looked at the potential for Xbox to have full control to raise subscription prices on their cloud gaming services, on Game Pass. And it's something like this would give them enough power to really hurt their competition and then essentially do whatever they want with pricing. um it's it's scary. It's definitely nerve wracking, and I think
Yeah.
consolidation is an issue in all of tech, not even games. But I think it hits close to home for us when we see, like the Bungie thing with Sony, having them look at stuff from Naughty Dog is a fucking crime. That is
Yeah.
that's I hearing
That
that really makes me
I
mad.
know. We should say that was a rumor, it was a leak, but like I totally buy it. Like that makes
Yeah.
total sense to me, honestly. Like why would they? That was one of the whole reasons they bought Bungie in the first place, was for that expertise
Yep.
on that sort of thing. So like, of course they're gonna have Bungie's people going in and asking questions and taking notes and everything. Like that's the whole point. You don't
Right.
spend billions of dollars on a company to not make use of whatever their assets are, whether it's intellectual or otherwise. I'm going back to the mountain, man. I'm done with this. I'm done with it. I'm
Got to
done with it
grow the
all.
beard. Got to grow the beard first.
I'm done. I'm done with games. I'm done with movies.
Got. Nah, dude, can't wait for the AI
Nothing's.
generated
Oh God.
the AI generated reality show starring Donald Trump and Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and
Bobby
Obama
Kotick.
and Bobby Kotick. Yeah,
He's the fourth
Trump,
one.
Biden, Obama, and Bobby Kotick.
Dude, when's
Star
President Kotick? President Kotick.
President Kotick. I could see that
Yeah.
happening too, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I actually could
At
as
this
well.
point, like, oh, you know
Yeah,
what? Fuck it, I'm voting for him.
He just starts a new political party, the Activision
Starts a new
Blizzard Party.
currency, Bobby Coin, Kotick Coin,
Dude, Bobby Coin, it's coming. Get
Kotick
in now
Coin all
while
the
you
way.
can.
Let's go.
Sell your bored apes on Twitter and go buy
Start
some
racking
Kotick
up that
Coin.
Kotick Coin, baby. Let's go. We need more Diablo Immortals in the world. All right. Dude, congrats again on your mountaineering. Very proud of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. I
Absolute
appreciate that.
legend. So everybody clap it up for him one more time, please. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. It's not working.
No applause. It's over.
No
Everybody's
applause.
bored already.
But dude, congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you everybody for joining us. You can find us
Thanks
on
for chilling.
youtube.com/@srankpod. Same on TikTok. We're also on Twitter @srankpod everywhere. You can find me on twitch.tv/NoBananaSuits. You can find Welsh up on the mountain. Now, Welsh, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram @SeanWelshBrown.
Yeah. So if anyone, any mountain tips or wants to go climb with Welsh, feel free to hit him up. He's a pro now.
It's true.
It's true.
I'll keep you alive. Actually, no, I have to say that I probably can't.
Yeah.
Legally, I cannot protect you.
But all right. Yeah, this is awesome. These things always fly. They're great. So we'll see you guys next week. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.